spiritual home where the loving presence of God inspires and transforms lives. And today, there's going to be a lot of inspiration. So be prepared. There's going to be inspiration in your life, and we're so grateful for that. Because today, we're welcoming Daniel Namad to our stage, and he's going to be sharing message and song, and he's going to share life with us. And it is a wonderful experience. I first became aware of who he was 5 years ago, but I didn't realize I knew all of his songs because they were being sung at other places, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is really fabulous. And so just to let you know, the genesis of today started because of our congregant and board member Kathy Richmond, who said, have we ever thought about bringing Daniel Namad here? And I thought, what a great idea. So from that, it came forward. So this is our Sunday morning service, and I'm going to invite you to join us in prayer. Invite you to breathe into this moment. And as you do, to experience the presence of God that is in us, through us, as us. To experience the Spirit that moves among us. And we are grateful, Mother, Father, God, for this opportunity to share in Spirit, to celebrate Spirit together. We are grateful for the blessings that are coming forward, and we claim them here and now. They are ours, and we are blessed. And we claim this, dear God, in the name and in the nature of the living Christ within us all. Amen. So I want to let you know what's going on this week. Of course, today we're having a lunch right after this, for those of you who are going to join us for that. But at 1 o'clock, we're all coming back here with even more people, and we're going to enjoy a wonderful concert together that Daniel's bringing together. So see you now, and I'll see you at 1 o'clock as well. And tomorrow we're having the Monday morning meetup at 10 o'clock on Zoom with Reverend Linda. And on Wednesday, we have our prayer and meditation service here in the sanctuary at 11 a.m., and that is directed by our prayer chaplain, Veronica. And on Thursday, we're having chair yoga here in the sanctuary at 9:30, open to all levels of moving and bending. Also, I want to remind you that we're having a potluck and bingo coming up on July 28th after the service over in Hammond's Hall. And there's a sign up for that. And if you have any gently used items that you would like to donate for the bingo, we gladly accept those. And we're having the Power of Affirmative Prayer class here on Sundays starting August 4th for 3 weeks at 11:30 here in the sanctuary. And Veronica and myself will be leading in that class. We're going to talk about how affirmative prayer changes our consciousness. And we're going to talk about using denials and affirmations in daily life. And we're going to practice using affirmative prayer in our daily lives. And we may even dare go into that territory where we pray for others with them out loud. And I know that's scary territory for some of us, but it's going to be fun, and we invite you all to come and be a part of that. We're also going to be celebrating World Day of Prayer here on Thursday, September 12th. We'll have meditation from 10 to 11 and also from 12 to 2. But at 11 o'clock, we're going to have our prayer service here, and Reverend Ann's going to speak. Jody's going to be here to sing and to lead us in song. We're going to have both the congregations and the prayer chaplains from Unity San Diego and our prayer chaplains are coming together to collaborate on this service, and we want to make sure that it's on your calendar and that you're going to be here on Thursday, September 12th. And then on Saturday, September 14th, we're having our summer finale concert with Jody and his band, and it's going to be great, great fun. So circle that on your calendar. I'll have more details about that next week. Absolutely. So I'd like to also welcome anybody who may be here for your first time or a long time. And if you are, I'm just going to simply ask you to raise your hand and keep your hand raised so we can just give you a packet of information. I met these two right here and right here. Thank you so much for being here. You know, you could do a lot of things on Sunday morning, and we're so grateful that you're here to celebrate Spirit and to come and support Daniel in his ministry as well. Let's see, what else do we have? Oh, well, this is it. So I have the honor of introducing the singer, songwriter, producer, and humanitarian Daniel Nahmod, who has performed his profound, heart-opening original music for over 1 million people since he began his career 25 years ago. I don't know if he even knows he's been doing it for 25 years, because they put a year in there, and I thought, I wonder if he realizes he's been doing this for 25 years, selling. It does make me feel old. I understand. He has sold over 150,000 CDs and downloads. He has been with literally thousands of people and audiences, and the songs are recorded and performed all over the world by other artists. As you know, we sing his songs, Jody sings his songs, other churches sing his songs. Miracle Youth Productions is getting ready to do a whole show based on Daniel's music, and that's going to be great fun. So we'll tell you when that is, so you can put that in your calendar. He has a poetic and evocative message of peace and love and compassion, and it goes through all nations and cultures and faiths. He attracts people from all realms of life, and he has found overwhelming acceptance wherever he has performed. And Daniel has presented his spectacular music and message for world leaders and faiths, the Christian, Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, Jewish, Baha'i, and he's worked with some of the most influential and brilliant speakers and leaders in the world. So Daniel is a servant, and to know that, and that's what one of the things that I love about him. He's a servant, and he's serving globally and locally in times of catastrophe and crisis, and he knows the power of giving and serving. And so Daniel lives in Orange County with his wife and jeweler, Melinda, and his son, Jude, and it's such a great pleasure, my friend Daniel, to welcome you here to the stage. Bless you.
Hello. So much pushing and pulling, so much fighting and straining, So much laboring against waves and wind. I am tired, my arms are weary, my back is aching, my eyes are bleary. I think I'm finally ready to give in. I have struggled, I have cried, I have screamed inside about the kind of life I've tried to lead. Well, right now I think it's time, for the very first time, to lay down my body and mind and just be. If I stop steering my boat, does it sink? Oh no, current carries it along just so. If I stop steering my life, I'm gonna be all right. I'll just go where the ocean says to go. Down the block or to the moon, round the world or just to my room. I can't say where I'm supposed to end up. I've resisted for so long, as if I could do no wrong, and it's never been quite good enough. It's a funny thing, I guess, this prideful human saying yes without knowing what I'm agreeing to. But there's a simple fact I find: the decision's never been mine. All I'll ever do is what I'm meant to do. If I stop steering my boat, does it sink? Oh no, current carries it along just so. If I stop steering my life, I'm gonna be all right. I'll just go where the ocean says to go. It's a scary thing for sure, to lay down my oars and quit pretending that I've ever been in charge. But it's scarier still to spend this strength and will and never even have a peaceful heart. So here goes the toughest thing. Ironic, don't you think, that it's so hard and so easy all at once? No, it's not laziness, it's just the deepest kind of trust that I'm okay when all is said and done. I'm okay when all is said and done. If I stop steering my boat, does it sink? Oh no, current carries it along just so. If I stop steering my life, I'm gonna be all right. I'll just go where the ocean says to go. I'll just go where the ocean says to go. I'll just go where the ocean says to go. 2 days ago, no, it's okay, thank you. Two days ago, I got my wheels aligned on my Subaru. And I walk in, and the guy has a little bit of a Texas accent. And I don't know how the subject came up, but he's from Texas, now lives in Orange County, and is a huge Cubs fan. And he mentions, I don't know why he mentioned the Cubs, and I said, oh yeah, I grew up in Chicago. And he said, are you a Cubs fan? We're huge Cub fans. And I said, well, I don't know. I was a Cub fan when I was a kid. I loved Ryne Sandberg. Anybody know who Ryne Sandberg was? He was a second baseman for the Cubs in the 80s when I was a boy. And he was a Hall of Famer. He was a brilliant baseball player, very humble and low key, one of a real anomaly. Like as modest as he was excellent, consistently excellent. So I say, oh yeah, I loved Ryne Sandberg. and there's only one other person in the Firestone, whatever it was, Bridgestone, whatever place, and it's one guy over here, and he looks up and he says, "I met Ryan Sandberg." I'm like, "What?" He says, I grew up in Chicago, and I went to Wrigley Field with a friend who knew Ryan Sandberg, and he took me up to the dugout or whatever he said, and I got to talk to him for a minute. I'm like, "That's awesome." He said, "Actually, I did most of the talking because he was a very soft-spoken guy." I said, "Wow, what a weird coincidence. That's amazing." Okay, that was 2 days ago, and then yesterday, I'm sorry, 3 days ago, because what day is today? Sunday. Friday, I sang at a synagogue, okay, near my house in Irvine. I sang at a synagogue. Very, very lovely, very liberal. I do well at super liberal places. Not so hot at the, let's call them fundamentalist wing of any religion, really. So anyway, it's a beautiful synagogue there. And I sang some songs, and I'm talking to an older couple there afterwards. And the guy mentioned, "Yeah, I grew up in Chicago." I said, "Me too." And I said, "I just was talking about the Cubs yesterday at this tire place, and I mentioned Ryan Sandberg, and there's a guy in the corner who says, 'I met Ryan Sandberg. Wasn't that weird?'" And he says, the man I'm talking to at the synagogue says, "My son is a big Cub fan, and to give you an idea of how big a Cub fan he is, his son's name is Ryan." "Seriously?" "Yes. My grandson's name is Ryan. He is named after Ryan Sandberg." Okay, so this is 24 hours of Ryan Sandberg palooza. I have no idea why. I don't think about the Cubs. I don't go around talking about them. And in 24 hours, I meet somebody who's met him, and then I meet somebody whose grandson is named after him. And do you ever have that feeling when you see like a few weird little coincidences pop up? And today, all of that has nothing to do with anything, except to say that today, being here in this building, in this town, feels like that for me. So I have a little bit of an unusual few things to share with you. And of course, since most of you probably never heard me sing or talk before, it's all going to be unusual. But for me, I just have a couple stories. I'm doing a couple things today I've never done before, and that's after thousands of performances. But I'm in a city called El Cajon, and so I have four, and I feel like the goal is, I'll be talking about myself, but the goal is it provokes a thought or two for you, okay? So it's not all about me, but all I can talk about is me, because that's the only one I know. Me. I mean, right? So I'm going to talk about me, but it's not intended to be entirely about me. Hopefully you find it interesting, and hopefully you get a thought or two provoked along the way. So the first thing that's remarkable for me, the first Ryan Sandberg aspect of this morning for me, is that I was just in El Cajon like 2 weeks ago at what I consider to be a great American company's headquarters, Taylor Guitar Company. And this is the very first time I am performing with this beautiful brand new guitar that I got from the Taylor Guitar Company, straight from the factory store, with the help of a lovely guy who has worked there for over 30 years and is retiring in just a few weeks, a man named Jerry, who introduced himself to me at another Unity church in San Diego area, and said, "Hey, if you ever," because I've been playing a Taylor guitar since 1998, and I bought it at, I used to say, my guitar is the envy of much better guitarists. I had no business buying this guitar. The nice people of Visa loaned me a couple $1,000s that I shouldn't have spent, and I spent probably a couple of years paying them back, and the next 25 years playing a guitar which is over there in a case. I brought it kind of as a backup because this I just got, like I said, a week or two ago, and I played it on a Facebook show, but otherwise it has not been out in the air until today. Isn't it pretty? You know, the front is beautiful. The back is all this walnut. It was a beautiful, solid walnut. The thing that I can't help but feel, a couple things actually that you might relate to when I hold this guitar. One of them is just a simple gratitude. I mean, if you think about, okay, go with me for a second. If you think about it like $1 in your pocket or your most recent paycheck, okay? Now, in some sense, those things are simple. I don't want to say pedant. I mean, they're simple. Yes, I do my job, I get paid. But if you or I were to take a minute to unpack what went into that check, it's actually a beautiful thing to just ponder where a dollar bill has been. For example, it might have been under a pillow. The same dollar that you have in your pocket might have been under a pillow for from the tooth fairy, right? Might have been $1 paid to a 10-year-old kid at their lemonade stand. Might have been $1 given to someone on a street corner having the hardest day of his or her life, and might have made a real difference, right? $1, it's just $1. Then if you think about your paycheck or mine, well, I don't get paycheck. I guess I get paychecks. I remember paychecks. I used to be a computer programmer, so I remember paychecks. I remember 401k. I remember getting paid when you get sick. These are lovely things. If you have those things in your life, cherish them. Anyway, so a paycheck. If you think about what goes into a paycheck, and again, maybe you don't need me to say this, but if you haven't thought about it in a while, let's say you work at a company with 20 people in it, right? Somebody does the books. Somebody stirs up the business. Somebody closes the deal. Somebody answers the phone for customers. Well, all of those people are no more and no less complex, rich, lovely, lovable people, even if you don't like them, which is entirely plausible. Those people are somebody's babies, right? Somebody's baby grew up to work in the office next to yours and handles bookkeeping. And you walk by them and you make small talk, and they do the same to you. They don't know your backstory. You don't know theirs. You never read their diary, nor would you want to, probably. They fell in love. They took a trip. They got sick. They lost a mother or a father young. You don't know the story, a divorce or, right, or they went to theater camp. People are complicated creatures. So a paycheck is an amalgam of lives, right, come together. And if you were to talk to any one of the people involved in even the company you never meet that prints the check, they have their own 6,000 employees somewhere. They're living their own life. It's a complicated and really a beautiful web of people, any one of which could have been yours or my brother or sister or cousin, just happened to not be. And if they were in your family, you would know their story, and you would come running if they were diagnosed with cancer, or if their kid got sick, you would babysit. Like, it just happens that they're not our family, the people who are cutting our checks or whatever it is. But the truth is humanity, and the people, for better or worse, the people in our families are accidentally there, well, depending on what you believe, but they just happen to be in our families. But I once saw a sign in a church I'll be in Canada actually in a few days, and one of my favorite things I ever saw in any church anywhere, and by the way, the stained glass in this room qualifies on like the top 10 list of most beautiful things I've seen in a church anywhere, and I've been in a lot of churches. But I saw a sign up, it said, "There are no strangers, only friends you haven't yet met." I read that like 20 years ago, I still remember. What a beautiful thought. Only friends you haven't yet met. So your paycheck, the person who waits at your table, the person, this is where I'm coming to, the person who makes this guitar, this job, the person who, and Jerry has given me a tour of the Taylor factory. People can take tours there. So I've met some of the people who make these things, right? They're just people. Could have been, but don't happen to be my cousins or, my neighbors, but they're just people. And for some of them, it's not hard to imagine. For some, it's just a job. For some, it's a dream job. Hands on wood, 8 hours a day, sanding and finishing. One of the sexiest things I've ever seen in my life is the warehouse at Taylor Guitar, where they keep their exotic woods. Piles of it. Thousands of pounds of some of the most beautiful wood in the world, sustainably sourced, consciously harvested. They don't mess around with that. They get their wood the right way, and they treat it like it's the finest sushi at the finest sushi restaurant. I mean, they know how to handle that wood. And what they make is art. By the way, then they hand it to somebody, short, hairy Jewish kid, for example, who takes this guitar on the road, and what do I do with it? I do my best. I make music with it. And maybe a song does something for somebody, which over the years I've heard that it does. The person who sanded the neck on this guitar ought to get some credit. I couldn't do it without a nicely sanded neck. The guitar is an extension of their work too. The songs, it's like I say with sometimes, the loneliest job in the world, the most thankless job in the world is sound person. The only time you ever notice a sound person is when the sound is horrible. But meanwhile, without, in particular, this happens to be Phil's day to be the hero. Without Phil, you actually couldn't hear me. So, if you enjoy it, don't thank me, thank him, right? And that is how it seems to me life works. So I'm not just holding a guitar that I bought with a little bit of a discount that Jerry was nice enough to extend to me in the Taylor Guitar Store. I am holding the handiwork, right? The sweat, not years, hundreds, thousands of collective, for sure hundreds, of collective years of experience handling wood and making musical instruments. It's a special thing. The trick is, and it's not my specialty, the trick is to take a breath and take a moment and observe it and feel it. There's an object in your life that you love and take for granted. It can get a whole lot more special than that. The shirt you're wearing, the shoes you're wearing, the mirror on the wall was made by somebody. These things are people's livelihoods. And by the way, livelihood gets, my wife, Melina, is much tougher than me. She gets mad at me when I send her Instagram videos that make me cry. She's like, please stop sending me boys reunited with their soldier fathers. I don't, and I'm like, oh, but it's so beautiful, But if you think about what a livelihood is, it's a doctor's bill paid. It's pencils at Target for school, right? It's a birthday party paid for. Livelihood is a special thing. To spend $5 somewhere in a little shop is to support not just the little business or big business, but it's to support the people who work there, which means actually to help support a family somewhere. It's a special thing. But you and I spend our days doing so much of this kind of thing and holding so many objects that the skin gets thicker and we notice less, and we, by necessity, maybe feel less. But the experience of gratitude and the feeling of connection to a stranger I'll never meet who sanded this, that feeling is available to me. I just have to take a breath and think about it for a minute. And all of a sudden, I could cry, actually, thinking about what Jerry did, walking me into that store and getting me a discount. This is not their finest guitar, by the way, not even close. They sell guitars that cost 5 times what this guitar cost. So this is not fancy by Taylor standards, but what am I going to do with it? Yeah, I'll sing songs, but what am I really going to do with it? I'm going to send my boy to camp with the money I make singing these songs. I'm going to buy him milk for the fridge. So the person who sanded this walnut put milk in my son's fridge. I don't even know their name. I can't thank them. The only way I know how to thank them is to do the best work I can with this guitar. And don't even get me started about how many people it takes to make a piano. Well, I used to dream out loud. Just being human made me proud. Now I throw my hands up in the air from disillusion and despair. My heart has taken such abuse. I've used my hurt as my excuse. It's like my hope has disappeared behind the shadow of my fear. And I wonder why they say that aging thins the skin. Then I remember I am only one, but I am not alone. Live again. Whoa. What if you have to fall to grow? I've fallen hard enough to know. So what if life's not fair? Does it mean that I'm too cool to care? And I wonder when I stopped believing right will win. Then I remember I am only one, but I am not alone. I don't need to do everything, no. I can right one wrong, I can sing one song. I don't need to do everything. It's time to dive back in. Yeah, it's time to live again, unjaded. What kind of life would I live with my heart closed? What kind of man would I be? What kind of world will I be creating if I can love with all of me? If I just love with all of me? I am only one, but I am not alone. I don't need to do everything on my own. I can right one wrong, I can sing one song. I don't need to do everything. I am only one, but I am not alone. I don't need to do everything, no. I can right one wrong or sing one song. I don't need to do everything. It's time to dive back in. Yeah, it's time to dive back in. Oh, it's time to live again. I am unjaded. Oh, unjaded. Now, maybe you won't be shocked after all my conversation about walnut to know that I am a woodworker too. None of what I'm about to say is intended to market or sell anything, okay? I'm just talking about it and showing examples only to show you why, okay? So I said, I'm in the city of El Cajon today, and it just feels like multiple Ryan Sandberg type coincidences all at once. And the first one is the Taylor guitar connection. The second one is I make boxes. I don't know if you're familiar with the word cajon, but it actually means box. I make boxes. That's what this is. I make little boxes out of that fancy wood that Taylor Guitar has by the thousands of pounds. I buy, 6 inches of it at an expensive store, and I go home and I slice it and glue it and sand the heck out of it until it's super, super soft and smooth. This one happens to be, this is bird's eye maple, which is not an exotic wood, but I love it. And but the lid and these two sides are made of a wood called wenge, which I'm 99% sure is an African wood. Somebody can correct me if you know better. And the lid has this handle. It's just a little piece. You probably can't see. I don't know if you can see the color. It's it's called Purple Heart wood, which is another exotic hardwood, and kind of my wife's favorite because everything in her house that she can manage to make purple, she makes purple. And the thing about, so if that first little conversation was about gratitude and noticing the specialness of what would appear to be everyday items, everyday activities, everyday paychecks, everyday dollar bills, I would say on my mind also is the premise of creativity for creativity's sake. Has anybody in here ever not learned how to do something because you were horrified at how bad you would be at the beginning? What is it you wish you would start? To what? Okay. Yes, good. So yeah, the danger we have a lot of exposure. I sometimes say, like when I teach classes on music making and producing and things, music producing and songwriting and these sorts of things, I sometimes say that like turning on the radio is actually a master class in music production, right? Because even if you can't stand what you hear on the radio, believe me when I tell you it's world class. It doesn't end up on the radio if it isn't. It really doesn't. And just as I'm saying about paychecks and the wood of the guitar, a successfully produced song is the handiwork of multiple people who are masters at their craft. I mean, the best microphone maker, the best cable maker from the microphone to the computer, the best engineer turning the knobs, the best record producer making the decisions, a gifted singer 99.9% of the time, the best guitarist in the tri-state area, the best mastering engineer. It's technical to explain what that is. We're talking about, and then of course there's on the radio the best DJs, really. The best broadcasting equipment. It's just the best stacked on the best, and then you turn it on and it's like, wow, that was amazing. Yeah, when you go to hear a symphony orchestra, you go to hear the San Francisco Symphony, the LA Phil, you go to hear one of the great orchestras in the world. You're not hearing one of the great orchestras in the world. You're hearing 100 of the finest musicians in the world playing together. Yeah, it's going to be spectacular. You go to watch the Masters golf. You're watching guys and gals who have played golf since they were 2. Yeah, it's serious golf. You go to any local golf course, you're not going to see a single shot that resembles anything from the worst moment on the Masters. That's just the way it is. So when we turn on the radio, you go to see a movie, movies are actually, movies and musical theater too, but movies even more so maybe, I don't know if you've ever thought about this. I read an article about it and I thought, I never really thought about that before, that movies may be the most collaborative art form in the history of humankind. If you think about how many people are involved in making a movie, you watch the credits, it's like 12 minutes of thousands, sometimes thousands of names. By the way, I do consciously think, look at how many people are supported. Look at how many families brought home a paycheck to make this terrible, terrible action hero movie. I'm happy for everybody. Wish the script was better, you know what I mean? But look at how many people were supported, right? So you see one little name in the animation section of one little production company that did just the sunlight shots in a movie. They're very specific and specialized. That one name, that person went to college, got a master's degree, apprenticed in digital art, and 15 years later lands the best job of his or her life at a production company, and 12 years later Marvel calls, and all of a sudden they've got their little name on, and it's not our job to ponder 14,000 names at the end of a movie, but every one of those names is somebody who is not good at their job, but excellent at their job. And you know how I know? It's not hard to know, because think about how many people are bad at everything. How rare is excellent in anything? How many restaurants do you need to go to until you come across a waiter or waitress born to do the job? Or a doctor, or a nurse? How many people do you come across before you find the brilliant one? Pretty rare. Excellent is hard and rare, right? So the downside of, and sorry, it's going to sound like a leap, but it's kind of related. The downside of knowing as much as we do about Nelson Mandela and Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr., the downside is that those are master classes in like achievement for the betterment of humanity. Those are, and there's obviously many, but not that many. On that level, a handful we could really think of off the top of our heads. And Florence Nightingale, there's people, but not very many. So, and I know Gandhi was concerned about this at the time, because he arrived at a level of reverence in his own life. People revered him, in other words. And he started looking like an exception, right? He started looking like unattainable, wisdom or unattainable, I don't know, what would you describe him as? Unattainable something. And he was very concerned about that. Don't think of me, he said, as an exception. I'm not an exception. I'm just an ordinary man who made a decision to take a stand for something, right? Well, you watch skiing on the Olympics, and you're probably not going to rush out and take lessons, because it's just depressing to start and be so obviously terrible at it, However, if you watch 5-year-olds learn how to ski, how do 5-year-olds learn how to ski? They fall, and then they get up and they do it again, and they get up and do it again. Usually they laugh. They're probably thinking about hot chocolate along the way, but they're mostly just like, it's just cool. You're on, waxed sticks on a hill outdoors. You're doing this weird thing. You get up, you fall. You get up, you fall. Well, I don't know how you feel about falling, but I don't love it. And I'm probably, when I fall, I hit the ground with like 40 pounds of Ben & Jerry packed into my skin. It's like, it's uncomfortable. And it's embarrassing, to fall. I remember walking around on skis and arriving at some ice in the parking lot, and I actually could not stand up. And I was there with a very cute girl who I was definitely not dating, but sure did want to. And she just stood there, buckled over, laughing as I tried to stand up. And I'm thinking, this is the end of any possible relationship with this girl. That's the end of that. So, do you or I dare to be bad at something? I tell Jude, our boy, he's 12, anybody who's good at something started off bad at it. Hard to imagine Simone Biles struggling, but she did. The only difference between her and not her is she was, for whatever reason, never mind the athletic genius. I'm talking about the willingness to look ridiculous. The willingness, I'm always admiring of somebody who at 60 or 70 decides to go back to college. Because you know you're going to be noticed. Standing out takes a certain kind of courage. And falling down does too. So I work with wood, and I'm untrained, and I'm learning the hard way, and my wife is terrified that I'll come inside with a few new, I make these hearts too. I make a bunch of different things. She's terrified I'm going to come in with a few new hearts and a couple of fingers, which is always possible. So the standing rule in the family actually is if I'm out there, nobody interrupts Danny. She just doesn't even come out to talk to me, because it really does take concentration. It really is actually dangerous. But it also, if you haven't had the feeling recently, then let me be the reminder of the feeling of gradually getting better at something. It's actually really satisfying to start off terrible at piano and then learn your first little song. It's deep. It's triumphant. And it will impress nobody but you. But isn't that what it was about to begin with? Learning to bake, learning to dance, learning to make... You know what the hardest thing for me is, because I'm such a scatterbrain, is just making these 90-degree corners. Takes concentration. I have a couple little tools, and it's just like, Jesus, it's so close, and the glue is setting, and it's like, I don't know, is it actually square? It's just like this, I don't know, but getting slowly better. It's kind of the only way to get better at anything. It's really sort of like, I sometimes say there's no shortcuts to an old friend. You can't buy an old friend. You can't fast track it. And you can't really fast track getting good at anything. The question is not, whether you can get good at it. The question is whether you're prepared to be bad at it for a while. And then really it comes down to your passion for it. Unless you're getting paid for it. If you're getting paid to do something you can't stand, sorry for you and sorry for the person paying you. But if you want it, then you will get good at it. If you're prepared to keep sanding and keep cutting and keep taking lessons and keep being bad at it. Like I said, I don't know if I'm reminding you or making you think of anything, but for me it's an ongoing process. I'm an entrepreneur. It's a similar way. If you've ever worked for yourself, started a business, it's the same thing. You are not going to be good at it. God bless you. You're not going to be good at it out of the gate. You're just not. Prepare for rookie mistakes. That's just the way life is. Anyway. Oh, I should go to the piano. The third Ryan Sandberg coincidence for me, anyway, today is boxes in our living room. As we moved into a catastrophically awful fixer-upper house. Way worse than we were told it was. We've been fixing it up ever since. And when my dad first saw the house, he said, well, at least you've got a hobby now. which was very compassionate. And so in literally in a few weeks, we are taking a sledgehammer and a Sawzall to our entire living room and kitchen because it's horrible and falling apart, and there's no oven, and the fuses go out, and the cabinets, we'll call them cabinets, but they're all like dissolving into sawdust, and most of the wood behind the walls is eaten by termites, and it's just bad. So we are boxing up our possessions. That's why I say this was a weird coincidence that I'm coming to a place called El Cajon with my brand new guitar, with boxes that I make, and with boxes filling our living room. There's even another coincidence coming, but let me sing you a song, because packing up, doing what we're doing is insane. This rebuilding thing. We're not rich, and we're going way out on a limb. And the question is, and I sincerely mean this, if it's an interesting question for you, what is it time for you to go out on a limb and do? What's the scary thing? We've all got one. A sentence we don't dare say, a job we don't dare quit, an admission we don't dare make, an apology we don't dare say out loud, a feeling we don't dare confess. So I know it sounds like a stretch for me to say that's what we're doing here, but in our house. But no, it's real. We're spending money we don't actually really have, but we're investing not just in the property so that our home stays standing and is worth, some retirement money when, in the years to come. But to be honest, consciously what we're really doing is trying to make sure that the rest of our son's childhood is in a functioning, nice home. That's really what we're doing. We realized he's 12. We moved in when he's 7. He's going to be 18 like that. And we will look back and say, why did we wait when that was his only childhood home? So we're taking a leap, and that's what this song is about. I'm through asking where I'm going. I've been asking all my life. I've grown tired of all this wondering when everything seems to turn out right. So when my mind needs something to do, wants to know the future, I whisper this: I'm okay. I've always been, and I'll always be that way. You want to sing that line with me? I'm okay. I'm okay. I've always been, and I'll always be, and I'll always be that way. So here goes nothing. I'm taking a chance. I'm opening up, knowing that I'm in good hands. And here goes everything. It's all on the line. Oh, but I'm not afraid this time. Some say it's crazy. Some say naive to close my eyes and take the leap. But I know better, 'cause I believe even in the dark my soul can see. So when my mind plays its usual games, oh, my answer is always the same. Yeah, here goes I'm taking a chance. I'm opening up, knowing that I'm in good hands. And here goes everything. It's all on the line. Oh, but I'm not afraid this time. Here goes nothing. I'm taking a chance. I'm opening up, knowing that I'm in good hands. And here goes everything. It's all on the line. Oh, but I'm not afraid this time. No, I'm not afraid this time, 'cause I'm okay. I've always been, and I'll always be that way. I'm okay. I've always been, and I'll always be that way. Thank you. Thank you. Let's do the offering, and I'll tell you one more quick story and sing you one more song if that works for everybody.
Thank you. You know, you're given 3 sermons in one morning.
There's another one coming.
I know. It's really wonderful. And what I love about it is that it provokes me, and I'm sure you as well, to think and grow past our obstacles in life, the things that hold us back. And so I'm really grateful for this awareness that's coming forward. Bless you. Oh, I have a decline here. So this is our opportunity to give, and our giving thought today is from Jim Ron, who says, "Only by giving are you able to receive more than you already have." So as we bring that consciousness into our time of giving, let us remember that as we give, we receive, that as we give, we receive more than we give, because we give not only in financial means, we give in love, we give in spirit, we give of ourselves. And in doing that, we open ourselves up to receive so much more back in return. So I want to thank you for supporting our ministry and to support this special programming. Your tithes and offerings today go to help this particular program and other programs that we continue with. And I'm going to invite you to take your offering in your hand or in prayer, or put it upon your heart. And if you repeat with me our offering blessing. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. And so it is. Amen. So I want to remind you, we're having a concert, same man, lots of music at 1 o'clock. Right following this service, though, to know we're having lunch, and those of you who bought tickets for lunch, we're going to have it over at Hammond's Hall, which is right across the parking lot from us. Don't go into the chapel next door. You're going to have a completely different experience. But over there, we'll have some lunch together. And I want to let you know that I have on my possession 5 tickets and 5 lunch tickets to share with you that people have donated. So just to know, if you want to go and join us for lunch and join us for the concert, please see me. I've got those tickets on hand. Would love to share them with you. I want to make sure that they're out of my pocket by the time 1 o'clock comes around. Yeah, and I also want to just say thank you to all the people involved for this service today. It took a lot of effort and energy to put this together. Special thank you to Kathy Richmond for inspiring us and doing a lot of the legwork. Our staff, Judy Gaudet, Patricia Santos, and Friday Del Toro, who really put a lot of work in behind the scenes. I'm grateful to them. I know you're grateful to them too, but every time you see them, let them know. And we've had many volunteers today who have both helped set up here and over at the hall. Barbara Eldridge, Vicki Young, and Manny Eldridge. The list is big, I know, forgive me. I draw a blank, and Friday always tells me to make a list and make sure I'm reading it, but I forget sometimes. I know you're gonna. And also, of course, very special thank you to Miracle Youth Productions, Phil, Adrian, Miracle, Samantha's up here, Denny's back there, and there were some other faces I didn't even get a chance to meet. Thank you very much for making sure that we are heard. We bless you. We're grateful for you. And so that's it. Tickets today. We'll see you at the concert. God bless you. Go ahead. Oh, let you know, we have offering boxes right over here, and we have one right by the office. You can put your offering in there. We are so grateful for your support. Love you.
Yeah, actually, that's at least two of the things I talked about come right into play. The fact that a community like this is in the business of lifelong friendship. You kind of don't notice it as you come. And the reason I know this, I didn't grow up going to church. I grew up going to synagogue. I'm Jewish, but my family is still friends with families that we went to synagogue with in the 70s. They became family friends, lifelong friends. And so it's a special thing to be able to come to a beautiful place where you're just welcome, where and you don't know that life creeps up on you. You don't know what the relationships that are growing. So it's a place worth supporting. And then the other aspect of it is how many people are involved in the simple act of showing up at a service, right? 10, 15, 20, how many people participate in the making of it all possible? Somebody has to turn on the lights, somebody has to check the thermostat, somebody puts the microphones here, nice job today, everybody with the sound, somebody controls that, somebody runs it's a lot. And then there's the bookkeeper, and then there's, of course, the senior minister. There's a lot that goes into it. And you and I walk in as participants, and meanwhile, behind the scenes, we're actually experiencing I don't mean to sound like a Hallmark card, but it's like the loving, generous effort of people who we may or may not even know. They made it possible because they felt called to do it. It's pretty special, really. Anyway, okay. So one more Ryan Sandberg kind of little coincidence for you. And before I tell you this very quick story, and that is, I'll say that I have a table out there. This is the only commercial part of it. You ready? This is like in the last 60 seconds. So out on my table, I have music. I have CDs. Not too many people have CD players anymore. God bless Spotify and Apple Music for that. But I have a kind of the main musical thing I have download cards. You could actually put an album on your phone in 2 seconds with like 30 seconds with a code. This is very simple. Or I have a USB drive, a little flash drive that has 14 of my albums on it. I have 24 albums total. But 14 of them are music that I could sing in this beautiful space and with some hope of being invited back. There are a whole bunch of albums I would definitely never sing here, but 14 of them, inspirational songs, are on one flash drive, about 180 songs. And I won't call it affordable. That word means something different to everybody, but it is only a few dollars an album for those 14 albums. So it's if you don't know what a USB flash drive is, you don't want it. Don't ask me. I can't do tech support. I don't want you to waste your money. But if you know what it is, it's a very cool, and it's now USB-A on one side, USB-C on the other. And if you don't know what that is, you don't want it. Don't even ask me. But it fits in your phone or your car, or your computer, your iPad, all those things. So there's that. Then, on the other end of the table, I proudly display the silver work of my wife. She is a silversmith, self-taught also, very accomplished, and amazing taste, and it's all solid silver, handmade, fancy, beautiful things, earrings and rings and bracelets and all kinds of things. So that's that, and then in the middle of it today I have the woodworking stuff. I had to bring it because I knew what I was talking about, the cajon and all this. But I just finished a whole batch of these hearts, which I really like to make. This is not exotic wood. This is reclaimed wood. Like, no, I don't buy wood at Home Depot to make these. So it's somebody's home is in a piece of it. My own home, you know what I mean? It's like wood comes from all kinds of places. And last story about a cajon is my boy was about 6, and I decided I wanted to make one. Raise your hand if you know what a cajon is. It's actually one of the more popular percussion instruments in the world. It was created by slaves and former slaves in South America, specifically in Peru. The word cajon means, and a cajon, the musical instrument, is and this is the cajon I made with Jude. And I can prove it, because I signed it, but he decorated it. You know, and so all a cajon basically is solid wood on 5 of the sides, and thinner wood on one side, so that you can play that as a drum. You open up a hole in the back to let the sound out. And the last trick, this wasn't in original cajons. Original cajons were actually literally just boxes you could sit on and play percussion. The idea being, it actually, free association reminds me of the story of Hanukkah. If you're familiar with the Jewish story of Hanukkah, you ever seen the little dreidel, little top that Jews play a little game? It's a little silly little gambling game. And the reason a dreidel exists as a game is because in many places practicing Judaism was illegal, punishable by death frequently in times of the Inquisition and so on. So there are 4 letters on a dreidel, and those 4 letters put together and bring together the story of Hanukkah. So it was intended to be a surreptitious way of teaching your children the story of Hanukkah while you're playing this game. It just looked like you were sitting around playing a game, when in fact you could whisper the story of Hanukkah to your children, and this is how a story passes down for a couple thousand years. And it reminded me a little bit, as I learned a little bit about a cajon, because it's too tragic to even think about how much culture and history and art and language and religion was lost in the practice of slavery. One of the things that was lost, of course, were native musical instruments. And Peruvian slaves did not have access to djembes and other native African instruments. And this was an innovation made of the crudest material, the only materials available, and in fact is thought to have been intentionally a modest thing, so that because slaves were frequently banned from making music, and certainly from practicing any native culture of any kind, so a cajon gave people an opportunity to still make music, but it didn't look like they were doing anything particularly. They just were sitting on a box. And this is how it sounds, in case you're wondering. No. Wait till you hear somebody who knows how to play it and then applaud them. Thank you, though. But inside it, there's actually, one of the innovations was to add, there's a snare drum over here, okay? Underneath a snare drum, that's the round one that is hit the hardest, that's the most frequent. Regular drum kit is kick, snare, kick, snare, right? That's that big boom, 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 right? The snare has wires, literally metal wires underneath the drum that rattle and add this high, we call it a sizzle, to a snare drum, okay? Well, somebody had the idea of putting them inside a cajon too, but not everywhere in the cajon, only on the top part. And if you listen closely, now you know that there are wires inside this. You can hear the difference. So here's the low part. Oh, let's see. It just sounds like I'm hitting a box. Up top, let's see. Let's see if you can hear it. You hear a little bit of a rattle. Just a little, and it makes it snap like a snare drum. And in the right hands, which mine are not, it becomes an incredibly versatile percussion instrument. I mean, good cajon players, dazzling to watch. They hit it all different sides. They bend the front with their feet and change the pitch of it. I mean, people are creative, you know. So this is the cajon that I made with my boy. And now I'll tell you, I'll sing you a song that was inspired by the building of this cajon, because my last thought for the day, sermon number 4, sermon's a strong word, you know, my own personal life lessons learned, right? Here's another one, was it was an afternoon, my boy was 6, and I said, hey Jude, let's go, you want to help me build something? And when my wife wasn't looking, I handed him the power drill and everything, and we, you know, he drilled some of the screws and you know, helped me make it, okay? But as I'm sitting there with my boy in the garage and we're making this cajon, I had the thought. We woke up this morning and we had a day. I had a power drill, a few pieces of wood, some stain, some polyurethane, a little varnish. You know, we had a little template, and I just painted that red, you know, little thing. We had a few of these rubber legs from something, and some markers, of course. And we had a few hours. So, what are we going to do with it? What do we do with a few tools, a few pieces of wood, 4 hands in our case, 2 of them tiny, you know, 2 of them not so tiny, and a few hours? What do we do with a day? And I realized as I'm sitting there with Jude, every day that is the question. Every day you and I wake up with whatever tools we have in our metaphorical garage, whatever pieces of wood we've managed to cobble together. If maybe you're a pack rat, maybe you have 1,000 skills, maybe you don't feel like you do, but you've got something, capacity to speak, capacity to write, capacity to love, capacity to cook, whatever it is. You and I wake up with a little bag of tools, a few pieces of wood, and a few hours, and whatever our body is capable of doing, which for some people is running, and for some people is sitting in a wheelchair, and for some people, you know, are paralyzed, and some people have hands, and some people have PTSD, and some people, right? We are all different, but everybody wakes up with a few tools, a few pieces of wood, and a few hours. And what are we going to do with it? So along came a song inspired by that thought, which I'll end this little, whatever this is. What it really is the inside of my head and the inside of my life. So thank you for being a safe place to share. With a hammer and nail, I can build most anything. A treehouse for children, or a courthouse for judging. With a hammer and nail, I'll build a bank or a prison, a stage for musicians, or a skyscraping building. With a hammer and nail, a family on the street, the one you hardly see, can finally find a home. So while I have this chance, how will I use these hands? What will I do with a hammer and nail? With a hammer and nail, I can help with hard labor, fix a boat for a sailor, or lend a hand to a neighbor. Oh, with a hammer and nail, in the wake of destruction, I can lay a foundation. I can rebuild a nation. Oh, with a hammer and nail, a soldier coming home who paid the highest price for our freedom can finally rest in peace. And so the question stands, how will I use these hands? What will I do? With a hammer and nail, with a hammer and nail. Oh, what will I do? With a hammer and nail. Will I build a wall or a bridge? Will I build a door and let everybody in? What will I do? With a hammer and nail. Oh, there's a whole world out there in desperate need of repair. Oh, what will I do? With a hammer and nail. Yeah. Ooh. When the time has come, will I have shown my son what one man can do with a hammer and nail? Thank you. Thank you very much. You guys like to close and sing something together? I don't feel like that was a democratic vote, but let's go for it. Here we go. Oh, and I also forgot to say, by the way, I hope you'll come back for the concert. If you enjoyed some of the music, some of my very best songs I have not sung for you at all yet today. I stuck with where I was living, but I'll take any requests you have if you know my songs, and if you don't, I think you'll enjoy it. Let's call it about an hour and a half, no intermission. I shouldn't say this, but I probably won't talk that much. It's very difficult for me, but that's the intention. I want to sing you a bunch of songs, some new, some not so new, given that I have been doing this since the second Punic Wars. So 1 o'clock, about an hour and a half more music. Please do come back if you're inclined. I love that you have a few tickets to give to somebody, because I always want to say, please don't not come if $25 is a lot of money to you. I get it, you get it. Come anyway, and I love that there's like a scholarship of a few tickets. That's super helpful, and I know I'm speaking for you when I say, do not be shy about asking for one of those tickets. It's got your name on it, okay? So here we go, a Danny song to close. I wrote this song a long time ago and promptly forgot all about it. And a friend of mine discovered it on a little cassette. Remember those? And she said, Danny, I like that song. And I said, okay, well, I'll try singing it. And sure enough, all these years later, it's sung all over the world. A little song that is sneaky, not musically, but conceptually sneaky. I don't know about you, but I do not feel loving on the highway. I just don't. I do not feel loving when I talk to Blue Shield. I don't. And my boy is now 12, and since he's not here, I can say he's a lovely, sweet boy, and I'll sing one song about him later, but he's 12. There's a wee bit of attitude creeping in, and I'm not always Gandhian in response. So the song is called Love Is My Decision. And the goal is not to bat 1,000 on this. The goal is not to aspire, like I say, to the masters of the craft, who, by the way, I promise you, whoever you admire as the most loving person who ever lived, lost their temper. Guaranteed. So it's not about being perfect. It's just about opening up just a tiny bit extra, digging just a little bit deeper, taking a breath instead of saying something, listening instead of talking, forgiving in advance, whatever it works for you. So a song called Love Is My Decision. Here we go. And thanks again for having me, by the way. Love is my decision. It's up to me. It's up to me to give of my heart, to give of my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start, can tell me to start. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. God will show me how. Love is my decision. My decision, right here and now, right here and now. If you're able to and interested, do you feel like standing up? It's good for singing. It's good for breath. You ready? Here we go. Let's sing it. Love is my decision. It's up to me. It's up to me to stand on that bridge, just stand on that bridge. Love is my decision. No one else can make me forgive, can make me forgive. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. God will show me how. Love is my decision. My decision, right here and now, right here and now. All right, one more time. Here we go. Love is my decision. It's up to me. It's up to me to dance down that road, to dance down that road. Love is my decision. No one else can lighten my load, can lighten my load. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. God will show me how. Love is my decision. My decision, right here and now. My decision, right here and now. Nice job. Thank you.